Well, guys, after all the anticipation all season long about who is in the grave, it was finally time for it to be revealed, and damn, were the results tragic. Hey guys, camera for Arrow, Season 4, Episode 18, 11:59, and guys, I was really looking forward to this episode, but also really not looking forward to it. Like, I really wasn't prepared for it, because first of all, I found out today that this was the episode that we were going to find out who died. I didn't know that because I didn't watch the promo. I don't know how. I just didn't get a chance to watch the promo to now, I guess. But this episode also, I was really looking forward to because all season long we've been trying to figure out who's in the grave, who's in that grave. That mystery's always been there. And finally tonight we got that answer. And I just gotta applaud them. I gotta applaud them for not half-assing it. I gotta applaud them for not killing off a small character. They killed off someone major. They killed off someone that's been with the group from the beginning, and damn is this show gonna be so different. I mean, there are a lot of things that are gonna be very different without, this character that died, which I'll get into, but regardless of the fact that the character died, without a doubt, the best episode of the season. This episode was incredible. Oh my god. There were some amazing scenes here. Not just the death. There were some amazing things here between everything with Diggle and Andy, and you got Darhk being a badass, and Dark's going to be one of the most hated villains ever after this, definitely, but let's just get into this episode because this was an incredible episode, a very hard one to watch during the last, 10 minutes, but overall, I absolutely loved it. I was riveted throughout the whole time, and let's just get into it. And I'm not going to talk about the flashbacks, I just don't want to, because like I said, I just don't care anymore, and I don't know what the hell's going on with them. So we see Andy, who has returned, as we know, because of what happened with Malcolm. Andy opens a safe in Diggle's room, removes and loads a gun. Diggle finds him. They reveal that Diggle told Andy where to find the gun, so Andy would feel safe, and Andy's scared that Hive knows about him and reveals that Malcolm wants Andy's help. And he really doesn't know what to do, and I like that Andy tried to stay loyal. He didn't try to go to Malcolm's side, because he promised Diggle that he'd stay on their side and that he'd stay loyal to them, and he doesn't really know, what to do now. I mean, really crazy that happened. Definitely, that was really crazy the way that was done, but definitely, like I said, not the craziest thing except, so we'll get into that. Diggle and Andy fill in the rest of the gang in the bunker on Malcolm's plans to steal some missiles, and basically we see Oliver looks at the idol they have stored now and admits to having seen it on Lian Yu, and he's worried that Malcolm wants to steal the idol, and Diggle suggests using Andy as a double agent with Hive, and basically making Andy think he's loyal to Hive while actually working for them, which I thought was a very smart plan, obviously, because if he works as a double agent, they'll get what they want, and Hive won't think that he's working with them. So Oliver's very unsure about that, because he's not convinced that Andy can be trusted. Even though, Andy's proven himself, he doesn't know because Andy hasn't been with them as long as Diggle has and things like that, which is understandable. But they see on the TV that Rube Adams has been elected mayor, and obviously Oliver doesn't really care, but he's obviously upset because we know this is Dark's wife and everything, so he's kind of upset, but at the same time he's kind of not, you can definitely tell. So Oliver, Laurel, and Thea attend Rube's acceptance speech. A member of the press tell Oliver that he received 40% of the write-in votes, and Rube approaches the gang and offers Laurel promotion to district attorney, and this is very interesting. It's kind of out of nowhere. And I was wondering before really what Laurel was going to do, because remember last week that Laurel was thinking of joining Felicity in her, her whole thing at Palmer Associates, and of course she didn't, and now it seems like she's gonna be district attorney, which we'll get into why that doesn't work later, but like I said, gonna skip the flashbacks. I don't care about what's going on with them. I don't know what's going on. I know you guys don't really care either, because it's not what you want me to talk about. So we see Diggle and the Green Arrow sit in their van waiting for the ghosts to come for the missiles. Laurel and Thea remain in the bunker. The ladies discuss Laurel's job offer and Malcolm's involvement with Hive, and Thea refuses to call him dad because she just doesn't see Malcolm as her father anymore. I mean, he's now too powerful. He's working with the enemy, and he's just not her father anymore to her. And something Malcolm notices when he walks in, and you can really tell the relation between these two has changed. I mean, there's a moment where you're really thinking, I mean, especially since you knew someone was gonna die, I was really thinking, is Malcolm gonna end up killing Thea? Is that what's gonna happen? Because we know that Malcolm still wants to be with Thea, and he wants to, to her to work with them. But of course, Thea's not going to just go over to Malcolm. I mean, Oliver and, Team Arrow comes first. And he notices when he walks in, accompanied by several men dressed as members of the League of Assassins, he's there for the idol. And you can definitely tell that's what's going on. And it doesn't have to do with Thea, which is very interesting. And like I said, it really shows the relation between these two is changing. And for a while, I was really thinking, oh, this is Thea's episode to die, definitely. Just the way that we're setting everything up. So the missile robbery begins with Green Arrow and Diggle giving chase. And by the way, I gotta say, really intense fight scene in this episode. Like, the fight scene in this episode were very well done. I definitely really enjoyed them. Laurel fights the men while Thea follows Malcolm, who quickly finds the idol. Thea fights him, and with Andy's help, Green Arrow and Spartan stop the robbery easily. Too easily, which does not escape Green Arrow's notice, and it's too easy. They don't know how they stopped it so easily, but for whatever reason, they were able to stop this really, really easily, and it doesn't really make sense to them. They don't really know why they did this or how they were able to pull this off so well, because it shouldn't have gone as well as it does. It goes really well, and they don't really know why it went as well as it did, which I think is a genuine question. I mean, why would this go so well? Because it probably shouldn't have. So, very interesting. Thea and Malcolm then continue fighting while with her getting the upper hand and pinning him down, 2 blades through his throat, which, that was really cool, the way that she was just taking down Malcolm, and she hesitates and Malcolm gets free, and even though Malcolm has lost, even though Malcolm has lost his hand and everything, he's still very strong, but Thea's just so much stronger, and you can just tell that she's able to take him down, and it really makes me think that because of what happens in this episode, that Thea's gonna end up killing Malcolm. I could definitely see her doing that. I mean, if she had to come to it, the fact she doesn't see him as her father anymore, I was really thinking, oh, Thea's gonna kill Malcolm, but that wouldn't make sense why Oliver has to kill him, because Thea's not him. So again, the entire episode, we're just anticipating what's gonna happen, but I also was really enjoying it. Like, I was still really into the episode, not just thinking about who was going to die, but of course that was on my mind. So meanwhile, Laurel wins her fight and tracks down Thea, but Malcolm and the idol are gone, and obviously that's what they need. They need the idol. Malcolm's now left with the idol, and basically they're screwed over now. So Oliver and Diggle return to the bunker and learn what happened. Thea's furious and goes to hit the street in the hopes of finding Malcolm, and Oliver does not want to use Andy further, but Diggle's insisting because he doesn't know if Diggle can really be trusted. I mean, for all he knew, Andy could have pointed Malcolm to the idol. He could have tried to maybe get them information. He could have told them where they were, and there are genuine reasons why Oliver can't trust Andy. I mean, we know before that Andy was working with Hive, and even though he said to Diggle that he's right, I did like the fact that Oliver said that he could be lying to them this entire time. I mean, we know that Hive is very deceitful, and Hive lies a lot, and a way to do that is to get through to Andy, and it is to get through to Diggle. He's thinking that Andy could be lying, and I like the way he went through this. It didn't feel unnecessary, it didn't feel like unnecessary drama. It felt genuine, like you can understand why Oliver wouldn't trust Andy in this situation. So Oliver and Laurel talk privately. She can see that he suspects Andy, and as we know, they've really developed this nice relationship over the past couple of episodes, and I definitely really enjoyed that. But she can see that he suspects Andy. Laurel tells Oliver to be positive before he does anything that could fracture his friendship with Diggle, because obviously they have a great bond, and she doesn't want him to ruin it, and they're interrupted from a phone call by Lance, and basically, we see Lance and Laurel eat at a Chinese restaurant. She's tempted to take this DA job because, like I said, she's in a very tough position. I mean, on one hand, she wants to take this, but at the same time, she doesn't want to get rid of Team Arrow, so that she can be a spy in Rue's inner circle. So in many ways, it does benefit her, because she can be a spy there. She can let them know what Rue is planning, and in turn, they'll let them know what Darhk is planning. So Lance points out that the DA has 24-hour security. If she takes it, she can't be the Black Canary anymore, we find out. And he's glad that she's Black Canary and wants her to continue. He wants her to fight. And it really shows how much this relationship has changed. I mean, you remember last season how pissed Lance was when he found out that she was a Black Canary, and that she was, basically being, basically doing what Sarah did. He was really pissed, but now he's really understood why she had to be the Black Canary, why she enjoys doing it, and he doesn't want her to stop being the Black Canary. And I thought it was a very compelling arc that I definitely really enjoyed, and I thought they handled that really well until the ending, which we'll get into. So Oliver and Diggle find Thea sharpening a blade. Still furious, Andy calls them. He's found Malcolm and some of his followers in a factory, and Green Arrow, Spartan, and Speedy join Andy at the factory. As they look for Malcolm, Green Arrow and Andy get separated from the group, and a booby trap sends arrows flying at them. Andy jumps from the Green Arrow, taking an arrow to the shoulder, and Really crazy scene. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen here. And again, Green Arrow doesn't 100% know if he can trust Andy. Even though Oliver wants to trust Andy, he just has these fears that Andy could be working with the enemy for all he knows. And again, I think these are genuine problems that Oliver did address. And I don't think it's a problem that Oliver was so suspicious of Andy. It makes sense to me how he was suspicious about it. So Malcolm visits Darhk at Iron Heights, bringing the idol. They apparently have a deal that if Malcolm helps Darhk, Malcolm and Theo will be spared from Genesis, and that's very interesting. As we know, Genesis is what Malcolm wants to create, and basically, Malcolm obviously wants what's best for Thea, and Darhk does as well, and I think that's very interesting. So Darhk points out that if a piece is missing and the idol is therefore useless, he sends Malcolm to find the missing piece, and we don't know what that piece is, but there definitely is one missing, and that I thought was very compelling, because I'm like, okay, who could have had the piece, what could have happened to it? Basically, Diggle tends to Andy's shoulder. Andy's terrified now that he's been compromised, and Diggle tries to calm Andy by revealing they removed a piece from the idol, and that Diggle himself hid it, basically to protect themselves, so that way they can get the idol back from them, and that they have a reason to get the idol. So they're interrupted by the Green Arrow, who stops Diggle from telling Andy where the hiding place is. Laurel decides to use her powers, because again, he doesn't know if they can trust him, and if Andy's gonna do anything, and if he's gonna possibly be interested in what's going on there, and for all they know, he could be working with Darhk and Malcolm for all they know. So Green Arrow sends Thea and Diggle ahead while he runs down a lead and tells Andy to go home, and Laurel decides to use her power as ADA to have Darhk's cell search, because they need to obviously figure out, like I've said, Darhk has been operating things from his cell. We knew this wasn't the end of him, even though he was in prison. We knew this was not the end of Darhk. We knew that he'd still be operating things. You can tell he definitely is kind of operating things from inside, even though he's in jail. So Laurel watches the Darhk cell is searched. Darhk is calm, knowing they won't find anything. He vaguely threatens Laurel and accuses Lance of having dementia, and Laurel's not frightened. The way that he accused Lance of this, was very interesting. The way that he made Lance think that he basically hid it. It's crazy, but you can tell that Lance is not going to believe his lies, and Laurel is not at all frightened by Darhk. She's faced many other enemies before. She's not afraid of what he can do, and I definitely really enjoyed that. But that ultimately is the thing that gets served to what happens during Inception, which we'll get into. But what I do have to say is Neil McDonough is just so awesome as Damien Darhk. I've said it before, but this was his episode. He's proved so many episodes how great of a villain he is, but this episode proved why I think he's the best villain the show has had. He's so powerful, and he's so menacing and so maniacal, and seems to have no boundaries whatsoever, and he does have a family, as we know, that he cares about, but he does have a plan. He'll do anything to get that plan to work, and I just love the way that was done. In Diggle's home, Andy then searches, and this crazy scene happens with Oliver and Andy. Probably the craziest we've seen Oliver in a while. Oliver shows up, accuses Andy of looking for the missing stone. Andy says he's just checking for bugs, but the Green Arrow does not believe him. He attacks, hurting Andy. Diggle shows up, threatens to shoot the Green Arrow. Literally just has his gun out right then and there, and Green Arrow backs off. Diggle sends him away, and you can just tell that Diggle knows that Andy can be trusted, and he's starting to not believe Oliver, which I think was very interesting. Well, not necessarily not believe Oliver, but he does think that Oliver is wrong when he says we can't trust Andy. I feel like Diggle has doubts, but he believes in his brother, definitely. He believes in his brother, he wants to believe, and he's going to do whatever he can to believe. Even though he doesn't know 100% if his brother is telling the truth or not, I love the way that scene was done, and David Ramsey's performance especially in that scene was just incredible. Just his emotion in his face, you can just tell that, no, my brother's innocent, I want to help him, and I love seeing that. I like that Oliver and Diggle were on different side of things here. So in the bunker, Diggle and Oliver argue about Andy while Theo watches. Oliver just doesn't think that Andy can come back from what he was, because, he was with Hive and was brainwashed, and now Oliver just doesn't think that Andy can be on their side. It just doesn't seem plausible, and Diggle blames Oliver's behavior on his breakup, accusing Oliver of being stuck, and I get Diggle's point, that Oliver's really upset at Felicity and could be just taking it on them, but Thea tries to comfort Oliver when Laurel arrives. She didn't find the idol. They watch the Iron Heights security camera feed. Murmur pushes a cart of books through the prison, handing books to several inmates in their cells, and Oliver admits that he should have listened to Laurel about how to handle Andy. She tells him that she's turning down the DA position so she can continue to be part of the team, and I love the scene between Oliver and Laurel, but it was also very sad because of what ends up happening in this episode. It was just that more effective, which we'll get into, which I know you guys want me to talk about, but that scene between Oliver and Laurel, basically, she's telling him she's going to turn down the DA position so she can continue to be part of the team. Oliver tells her team's falling apart. He also reminds Laurel she was working to be DA until Sarah's death changed her mission, if you remember. I mean, Sarah's death was the thing that turned her into the Black Canary. Do you guys remember who Laurel was like 2 seasons ago? She was drinking. She was not interested in Team Arrow at all. She obviously knew who Oliver was, but she didn't know, really how the team worked, and she kind of just wanted to be involved with law and things like that. And now that Sarah's dead, that's when she decided to become Black Canary and actually decided to be part of Team Arrow, and that just changed her mission. And now that Sarah isn't dead anymore, she should go back to her old dream, and basically, now Sarah's alive, as we know. Sarah's not dead, she's alive, and now she can go back to her old dream and go back to being a DA. And yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, Sarah is out fighting the war, tons of different dimensions, as we know, in Legends of Tomorrow, which she's being a badass in, which of course Oliver doesn't know that. I don't know if I'm pretty sure he knows that, but I don't really know. But what he's trying to say is that Laurel, isn't, Laurel doesn't need to fight for Sarah anymore because Sarah is alive and now she'll go back to DA. And it really just shows how much Sarah's grown. I love the way that scene was done. In Iron Heights, the cell doors open. Murmur brings Darhk the idol hidden on his book cart. The books he gave out had knives in them, which I knew there was some significance with those books. They wouldn't just show that for a reason. The prisoners riot, stabbing some guards and taking others hostage. The team finds out about the riot in the bunker. Laura looks at her mask and says one last time. That was kind of a toned down version of what happened in Daredevil with the Punisher, but not really at all. You guys know that scene. It's brutal stuff, definitely. I mean, just watch the Daredevil 7 Minutes in Heaven episode. It's a crazy episode, but kind of what you saw with that riot. There's a much more explicit version of that with Daredevil that couldn't be seen on TV. That's basically what this was, just very toned down. So, Laurel decides this is going to be her last time as Black Canary. This is just the last time she's going to do it. She's not going to be Black Canary anymore. Before this one last time, she's up for it. So, Lance drives up to Iron Heights and causes a scene with the police, insisting on seeing Pike, and as Green Arrow, Spartan, Black Canary, and Speedy look on, Lance punches Pike and causing the distraction they need to get inside, and Andy joins him, insisting on proving himself, and they split up, and pretty much everyone works as a team, which I definitely liked, and I've heard a lot of people say the team's too big, but I honestly like it when they work as a team and aren't on just different sides of things. Like, even though they are on different sides, they're willing to put aside their differences they're all looking for the same thing, which is that idol. They want the idol, they want to do whatever they can to get it, and in turn, bring down Darhk. So Murmur and several prisoners engage Black Canary and Speedy in a fight, while Spartan and Andy also fight with prisoners. Malcolm finds Speedy, and Black Canary moves on as father and daughter fight once more, and we see once again they're fighting. Darhk is aware the heroes are in the prison. He orders the hostages killed, but Green Arrow, Spartan, Black Canary, and Andy all show up and begin fighting the prisoners waiting with Darhk. Still fighting in the hall, Malcolm pins Speedy against the bars of a cell. He says the lost bloodlust is why she can't kill him. It damaged her to lose it, and basically he runs away, and that's why she can't kill him, because the fact that she doesn't have as much bloodlust. And I was thinking, holy shit, Malcolm's gonna kill his daughter. I was thinking Thea was gonna die here. When she ran away, I can't tell you how happy I was when he ran away, because I was waiting for Malcolm to kill Thea. I mean, because we don't, again, something I love this, that we didn't know. We didn't know if it was Malcolm or Darhk. We didn't get a name. All we heard was he. So it could have been Malcolm or Darhk, and I like that Malcolm did run away, because it would have been tragic, but it just wouldn't really have worked, and I don't think Malcolm would ever actually kill Thea. Even though I think he's had thoughts about it, I don't think he'd ever upright do that. That's just something that he wouldn't do. Thea, on the other hand, I think would, but he would never actually kill Thea. So Andy's taken hostage by a prisoner. Darhk orders the heroes to drop their weapons, and they do. And as soon as the Green Arrow, Spartan, and Black Canary are captured, Andy's released. He hands Darhk the missing stone, having been working for Hive the whole time, we realize. And Darhk puts the idol back together, only to take 2 arrows in the torso, courtesy of Speedy. And the fight starts again as Darhk removes the arrows and holds his bloody hands to the idol. There's not enough blood, so Darhk shoots at a wounded prisoner on the ground, uses blood to regain his magical powers. He magically grabs all the heroes, holding them in place, and I love the way that this was done. Definitely very interesting. And Andy was, in fact, working with Hive. Like, Oliver wasn't wrong. Andy was working with them. And this really changes a lot, because we thought that Andy was working with them, but no, he's not. And Diggle was just falling for his brother's tricks. And I'm not going to say, Diggle was, believing Oliver over his brother. I think it was his brother. I mean, that's the thing. He's going to believe his brother, who he hasn't seen in so long. So Malcolm arrives just then. Darhk reveals that he knows all the heroes' real identities, not from Malcolm, but from Andy. And this was an incredible twist. I love the way this was done, because this changes everything. I mean, Darhk doesn't just see them as vigilantes. He sees them as who they are, and he knows why they have this personal vengeance against him. And he gave up Spartan's identity as his brother. From there, Darhk was able to determine who the others were. He cast Spartan and Speedy's side. They crashed well before turning on the Black Canary. The Green Arrow gets enough control of himself to shoot an arrow at Darhk, but Darhk catches the arrow, recaptures the Green Arrow. Darhk tells the Black Canary to give her father a message, and I love the way the scene was done when he basically realized that Oliver was the Green Arrow, and that Thea was Speedy. But what matters most to him is the Black Canary, because of course Laurel was the one that tried to get him in jail, that tried to get him, in the trial and everything, that wanted to make him, she wanted to see him guilty. And the Green Arrow gets enough control of himself to shoot an arrow at Darhk, but Darhk then catches the arrow, recaptures the Green Arrow. Like I said, Neil McDonough just killing it here. But then we get to the moment that just devastated everyone. And I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to happen. I kind of have a feeling that this character was going to be the one, but Darhk tells Black Canary to give her father a message, stabs her with the arrow. Darhk, Malcolm, and Andy all escape, and he stabs Black Canary. We don't know if she's going to live. We pretty much are thinking that she's going to be the one to die, and the Green Arrow lifts the Black Canary, runs over to the infirmary, finds a doctor who agrees to help. Obviously, they're all freaking out about what's going on here, but now we know a lot of things here. Now we know that they know all their identities. That changes everything. Andy's no longer on their side, and basically everything's changed, and I thought this was very well done. It wasn't just the death that changes things. A lot of things change, especially Darhk's relationship with all of them. He doesn't just think of them as vigilantes. He now sees them as who they are, and he understands why they want to go after him, and it makes things that much more interesting, and it makes Darhk that much more of a threat, definitely. So naturally, Oliver wants to get, Laurel into the hospital immediately. He finds a doctor who agrees to help, but she sends Green Arrow away before he can be found, and basically, at police headquarters, Lance is in a chair, cuffed to a desk, and a female cop fills him in the Black Canary's injury, and the look on Lance's face when he realizes that something is wrong with this, that, when he says, when they say someone was hurt, he says, who was hurt, who was it, like, he's freaking out, and he begs her to put him in touch with Pike. He'll surrender himself back in, but he has to go now, and Oliver waits the hospital as Diggle, Thea, and Felicity show up. Thea reveals that along with Darhk, around 50 prisoners escaped, and obviously, they completely failed. They've lost very badly. Not only did they lost, but they've also possibly lost a casualty, and Diggle blames himself for believing Andy. He can't forgive himself, and I like that Oliver said, it wasn't really his fault, but there's not really, he can't really dwell on that right now, because they need to focus on Laurel, and the game watches Laurel's wheel into a room. The same doctor from the prisoner tells him that she will be okay and is asking for them, and in her hospital room, Laurel asks about Darhk, but they all encourage her to rest. She told them that she had planned on him being her last night as a Black Canary, but changed her mind. Fighting with them is what makes her feel alive, and she wants to continue being the Black Canary, and that's what makes this scene that much sadder. Felicity, Thea, and Diggle all tell Laurel that they love her and leave her with Oliver. Now, we saw Felicity very abruptly, but obviously Felicity's a part of their life, so I didn't really think she was there for Oliver. I thought that she was there for Laurel. I mean, she cares about Laurel. They've had scenes where Laurel was possibly going to join Felicity's, was going to join Palmer Associates, so you kind of have to think that maybe she was going to join, and they had that connection, obviously. So Laurel tells Oliver to rest too, but he won't leave, and we get this amazing scene between Laurel and Oliver. Like I've said, these two have been very close lately, and this scene was just so good, and I love the way this was done. She asked him to bring something from her pouch, and it's the same picture of her that Oliver carried on Leanne Yu, basically when they were still together. She wants Oliver to find his way back to Felicity, tells him that she knows she's not the love of his life, but he was always the love of hers, and just that line, oh my god, I love that line, because we've always kind of felt like Oliver and Laurel have been something. They had something, now they didn't. But just knowing that Laurel's always loved Oliver and he's always been the one that she wants to be with and everything, it just makes things that more effective, and that's much sadder. And she asks Oliver for a favor, and we don't know what she asked him. Now, this is very interesting. We don't know what Laurel asked him, and I don't think it's necessarily, I do think it's going to be important, but we don't know right now. So Thea tells again she talked to Lance, and he's on the way, and when Laurel starts quoting the game, follows the doctor's into Laurel's room where she's having a seizure, and Oliver says he has no idea what's going on. They were just talking, but again, we don't know what Laurel just told him. They join Oliver, who watch helplessly as Laurel's given CPR and the paddles, but is no good. Her heart stops, and Laurel is dead, which, Holy shit. I mean, I can't get over the fact that Laurel has just died. It's crazy. I mean, this without a doubt is the most effective death we've had since we thought Sarah was dead. I mean, that was effective too. Moira's death by far, though, was the most effective death we ever had on the show. Actually, no, Tommy's death I could even say was the most effective. Either Tommy or Moira's definitely. Both were definitely up there, but this was really, really sad, and I like that they didn't try to sugarcoat it. You know, the whole gang sobs as Oliver walks in the hallway. He's stunned. He doesn't know what to do. I mean, 1 second he's talking to Laurel, and she's saying everything's going to be fine, and especially what she just told him. We don't know what it was, but whatever it was very important and probably changed a lot of things, and Lance then hurries down the hall, and I love the way this was done. He wants to get to his daughter immediately, but the look on Oliver's face, he just knows. He knows that Laurel's gone. He knows there's no gang to her. He sinks to the ground as the two men stare at each other, crying, and Lance just knows that there is no coming back. Laurel's dead, and he needs to face it, and that's the way this episode ends. Very dire note, but incredible, incredible stuff. And what an amazing episode. I mean, I just give the show credit for killing off Laurel, but I got teary-eyed, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I was getting teary-eyed. Not because I had an attachment to Laurel. In fact, I don't think Laurel's had a lot to do this season until now, which I do think it was kind of time for her to go, because the cast was getting so big, they need to kill off someone. I'm fine with that happening, because of the fact that Laurel, just like I've said, out of all the characters, I've said every episode, oh, Laurel didn't have much to do here, Laurel didn't have much to do. Suddenly she's had much to do. It makes sense, because on shows like this, when a character has a lot to do and they haven't had a lot to do, they usually die, and that would make sense why Laurel had to die. I mean, Lance is the one. Why did Lance work with Darhk? To protect Laurel. Why was Lance, getting all these situations to protect Laurel? If Laurel's dead, there's no reason to protect his daughter, and Darhk is, Lance is going to be in the most difficult position now, because he has no one to protect, he has no more allies. He obviously has one daughter, but he can't see her, but this is the second time he's lost a daughter, and I don't really think he's going to know what to do, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he gets back that confidence that he once had. I mean, I'm sure he will, but out of all the characters, I'm most worried for Lance, because I don't really know how he's going to go on from this. I mean, this is the second daughter he's now lost, and I don't really know what he's going to do about this. But Laurel's death really does affect a lot of things. I mean, the Black Canary is one of the biggest allies to Oliver. They're supposed to end up together in the comics, and I like that they changed this. And a lot of people are saying, why didn't they just kill off Felicity? Felicity, we knew wasn't going to die, okay? The amount of, stupid bullshit I've heard from people saying, oh, Felicity should have died. You knew very well from the second we saw Felicity in episode 11, and she said, oh, I don't, I want you to kill him. We knew she wasn't going to die, and Felicity and Oliver are not together right now. They're going to get back together at some point, but they're not together right now. I do kind of feel his death will bring them together, but anyways, definitely very interesting stuff there, and now we know who dies. We now know why Oliver needs to kill Darhk, and definitely Oliver needs to kill Darhk. Not just because of the fact that Darhk killed Laurel, but the reason why. I mean, Darhk literally killed Laurel in front of him. He was working with Lance after everything that Lance did for him. I mean, Darhk betrayed them completely. He completely betrayed them. He didn't try to save her in any way, and now he knows that he needs to kill Darhk. There is no saving him, and Oliver is gonna kill no matter what. He's done with the no-killing thing, and I'm thinking that that's what's gonna happen, is that the scene's gonna end with Oliver killing Darhk. That's what's gonna happen, and Oliver's really gonna break that no-kill policy, which I do like, because we know the big theme of the season is that Oliver's been trying to get away from that sort of like dark path, and now he's definitely gonna get back on it, because this death is really gonna affect him. We all remember how he was after Moira died. He almost committed suicide, pretty much. I mean, if you guys remember, there was a point where he almost committed suicide and wanted to just, die, basically. He wanted to die. He didn't want people to remember him. He wanted to fake his death. All these things he wanted to do. And who knows what's gonna happen now that Laurel's gone. I mean, this is really gonna affect him. Obviously, it's not as personal as his mother, but he's still just as effective. And plus, we don't know what Laurel just told him, and that's the thing I'm most interested in. What the hell did Laurel tell him before she died? Because whatever it was is very imperative, and then probably something was like, before I die, just remember this or something. I don't really know, but that really interests me, because I have no idea what she said. That's going to be very interesting to see what that is. I have no idea what she was talking about, but I'm very fascinated in what that's going to be. Andy's now working with Highball Lawn. I'm not surprised necessarily because Oliver predicted it, but just the fact that he completely lied to all of them and gave his identity to Darhk and everything, I mean, it makes sense definitely why he worked with Diggle so long, why he tried to make Diggle think that he was the innocent one. I mean, it definitely makes all this sense. He was working with Hive, and he did in fact betray all of them, mainly because they brainwashed him. They made them think that he was the good guy, that they were the good guys, and Diggle was the bad guy, and he just couldn't go against what they told him. I mean, when you're brainwashed, there's really nothing you can do about it. It's really sad, but there's really nothing you can do about that. So this really isn't a very effective death. I can't wait to see. I mean, not that I can't wait to see, but I honestly can't wait to see where we go from here because it's going to be very different. And I kind of knew Laurel was going to die because there was an article that said she was going to be on the Flash and Legend of Tomorrow in Earth 2, and I already knew that there was an article that said whoever dies, this is not the last time we've seen them, and that's exactly how you do that. You put her on the Flash, put her on Legend of Tomorrow for a little bit, and then, have her die. And how's Sarah going to react to this? I mean, Sarah's got to come back, right? Sarah's got to come back for her funeral. There were pictures, as we know, of Laurel and Lance, but that clearly is Sarah and Lance. So I'm thinking tomorrow night's Legends tomorrow, she's gonna find out about Laurel's death. I don't know what's gonna happen exactly. We'll have to see what happens there. It's gonna be very interesting. But overall, guys, amazing episode. Totally worth the wait. We now have to wait very long, but honestly, I'm not upset because this was the perfect time for the show to take a break. We now have this major death. We have a few weeks to get over it. Then we can move on with the show. And now we finally caught up. I like that we've caught up. I like there's no more anticipation. They've now shown us the death. They've shown us everything that happened. And let me know what you guys saw this. I thought this was a very well-deserved death. And I think we've really earned it because we've wanted some... I know a lot of people want main character dead for a while. And finally we actually have it. What do you think of Laurel dying? Do you think she was the right person to die? I think she was absolutely the right person to die. It makes perfect sense why she had to die. What do you think of Andy's betrayal? How is this going to change the format of the show? Is Oliver going to be able to go on without her? Is he going to have to kill Darhk? We'll have to see. How's Lance going to be? Like I said, I'm most concerned about Lance. We'll have to see. But overall, guys, I'm you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Very hard to watch in those last 10 minutes, but very worthwhile. Like I said, by far best episode of the season. And we'll see you guys next to which will be for tonight's episode of The Americans, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.